Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack, this is Jthbooks, and it's time for the October wrap up. Now, in October, I plan to read 5 books, because I had some big books on there, if you remember from the TBR, which will be linked down below. But it didn't quite go to plan. Well, it did, because I read 5 books, but one of them wasn't the big one. It got substituted for a much, much, much smaller one. So I wasn't very well in October. Without going into which, I have a bit like of a stomach issue, which the doctors and all that are trying to figure out. And it hit me in October, and it hit me hard, and it, knocked me out for like 2 weeks. So this could be more of a TV wrap up, really, because I've watched a lot of TV. Should we quickly talk about the TV? Why not? I watched all of season 1 of Abbott Elementary, which is about teachers in a school, and it was brilliant and hilarious, and it's won a couple of Emmys, and it totally deserves them. It's a real joy. I finally watched Obi-Wan, the series on what's it called, Disney Plus, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I would like another series. Disney, if you're watching this, Star Wars, George Lucas, please. I also watched a whole Korean drama, which was Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which was just what I needed. It was absolutely just what I needed. I just loved it. I was struggling to find one, and I found one. And I don't normally watch them that quickly, but I didn't want to stop. Other than that, I just watched a lot of movies. Oh, I rewatched Heartstopper, because you have to, and Young Royals, which is a Swedish show on Netflix. The second season, well, by the time this goes out, it'll be out. It comes out tomorrow. Oh, it was perfection. I care about those 2 boys more than I care about my own family. It's just my new obsession. So yeah, I love it. And that's all I want to do, is watch season 2 of that. So who knows how November's readings are going to go. But enough about TV. You're here for the books. Or I hope you're here for the books anyway, or just because, we like to have a chat. It just goes off on a tangent, doesn't it? I don't know what happens, but books. Let's talk about the books. Let's just go to the books. So first up, this month, I read A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. Now, if you remember, in October, I just said I'm reading what I want to read. The books have just fallen to me. I'm just reading what I want to read. I'm reading things that have been calling to me, that I think I'm really going to like, and I think are going to be emotional. And this book, the Booker Prize winner in 2015, extraordinary, magnificent, dazzling. That's how I would describe me, but not this book. In this book is basically centered around Bob Marley, who in it is called the singer, but you never get a perspective from him. You get a perspective from the gang leader who's working with Bob Marley to create this peace concert to sort of try and unite the country of Jamaica. Then you have another perspective of the gang leader's second in command, who hates Bob Marley and wants to kill him, and is sort of the ringleader in his assassination attempt. And then you get a couple of perspectives from some of the gang members, and then you get another perspective of another gang member who is teaming up to kill him, and then you get a perspective from a journalist, and you get a perspective from when we have a one-night stand with him, and a perspective from the CIA. And then later in the novel, it moves to New York, and you get a perspective from a hitman and someone in prison, and there are a lot of perspectives, as I'm sure you just gathered. And there were times in this novel when I was into it. I was really into it, and I found it quite sort of all-consuming. But for the most part, it just didn't do it for me. There is a perspective, I believe her name is Nancy, and that was my favourite perspective. And thankfully, that one sort of did carry on throughout the book, because some of them stopped and moved on or died. And there were a couple of perspectives. I think his name was Weeper that I really enjoyed. Oh, Nina, not Nancy. It was Nina. Yeah, and Weeper. But a lot of it went over my head. It was very political. I don't know anything about Jamaican politics in the 70s. I don't. And yeah, it wasn't for me. I think it probably got sort of a 2.5 stars. Because like I said, when I was reading some perspectives, I really did enjoy it, and when I could thread the story together from the perspectives, that's when I was most enjoying it. But I did struggle to do it sometimes. It's probably just me and my lack of intelligence, but the literary sensation of the year, yeah, I didn't quite feel that. When the political element came in and the CIA, it just went over my head. I didn't know what was happening. But the root of the story, I think maybe it was, I don't know if it was too many perspectives. I don't know why it didn't hit with me, but it just didn't. I really wanted to love this. I think as well I had a preconceived notion going in of what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be 7 perspectives connected to a killing, or 7 killings, and it was going to be emotional. It just didn't work for me. It's not a bad book. I didn't hate it by any means. But I think it's probably right book, wrong reader. I think that's more it, because, it's a prize winner. So many people love this book. So I think it's definitely more me than the book. What a great start to the month that was for me. Then, for my non-fiction of the month, I read Disability Visibility, first-person stories from the 21st century, edited by Alice Wong. This was brilliant. I did give this 5 stars. I think it's always a bit weird to rate non-fiction. But in this, you just have many, many stories from the perspective of disabled people just trying to live their lives. I mean, the first story is so powerful about this lawyer who is invited to a college or university to debate with this man who believes that she shouldn't be alive because she's disabled. And she says it's so strange because he's actually quite a nice man, but his beliefs go against literally who she is. And there's so many stories about ableism in ways we wouldn't understand, how we are all ableist in ways we don't mean to be, and we don't even think about. And there's, stories of disabled parents and stories of what it's like to be black and trans and disabled. Some of them are so moving, and some of them they're just so poignant, and so, they just gut punch you. They really do. I thought this was a really brilliant collection. It's just educational and moving, and I really enjoyed this. This is a brilliant piece of non-fiction, and if you're looking to learn more and empathize more and try and become a bit less ableist, I think this is a great place to start. This is a great starting point. It's just a phenomenal book. It just is. And then I read this chunky baby, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail because I have filmed a reading vlog. But like I said, I did get ill, so it didn't go to plan, and I think it's a bit crap. But I'm going to upload it. I hope you watch it. I'll upload it soon. But in this, we follow 4 perspectives, and 2 of them are in the east and 2 of them are in the west, and they all sort of go on their own journey. It's all about how they have to come together to defeat the Nameless One, which is the dragon that is coming back after 1,000 years to destroy the kingdoms and destroy anyone that doesn't worship him. And I wasn't sure what to expect. I know this is one of my friend Monique's favourite books. I've got the prequel, the proof of the prequel, which I was going to read, but didn't happen. And it's a high fantasy, epic high fantasy, which isn't my thing, but I absolutely loved it. It is 5 stars. It's not perfect. There's, I think, some things happen that are just very convenient. That, oh, I figured this out and I don't question it. You know, characters got a bit like that. And the ending, was it a bit disappointing? Yeah, but it didn't take anything away from it, which sounds strange, I know. But I was so invested in the story. I was so invested in the characters. I was so invested in the relationships that it didn't stop me loving it. I just thought the ending could have really been more epic. You know, we've waited 700 pages for the nameless one to come back, and it felt like he was in it for like 10 pages. I'm sure it was more than that, but it was just so quick. Just, you know, all that build up, and it was a bit later. But like I said, it is still 5 stars. It's so detailed. It's such an encompassing world that, although it was huge, it still felt small and intimate. And although there were like a lot of characters, they were explained and they needed to be there. There wasn't anyone there that didn't need to be there. I just, you know, I just loved it. I just loved it. I didn't expect to love it. And I absolutely would have read the prequel if I didn't get ill, but I wanted to concentrate. That as well did not help maybe at the end, because I was probably 600 pages in when I got ill, and I didn't pick it up then for like 12 days. And, you know, that's going to affect your reading experience of a book. But that's how good it is. I still gave it 5 stars. It's got to be. And I can't wait to read the prequel now. I just can't. Then I read The Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami, translated by Alison Markin Powell. And in this we follow Hitomi, who works at a second-hand store with Mr. Nakano and Takeo. And again, this was maybe another one I had a bit of a preconceived notion of what it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be customers coming in, dropping off these items, telling their story, and then you were going to have sort of the worker story thread it all together. In a way that did happen, but it also didn't. A couple of chapters were customers coming in, telling their story, but their story was like 1 page. And the rest of it was about, you know, 90% of the book was about the staff that worked there, these 3 characters. And also Mr. Nakano's sister and then her boyfriend. And I just didn't get attached to any of the characters. It all felt so static, and the writing felt static, and the characters felt static, and the relationships felt static, because Hitomi ends up falling and has a relationship with Takeo, and I didn't believe any of it. I think, and also it's a bit disappointing because I loved Strange Weather in Tokyo by the same author so much. I thought the connection the characters had was so brilliantly done. It was so slow burn and it was so tender, and that was missing from this. It was absolutely missing. I gave this 2 stars, and I'm just so disappointed. And it was even like the final chapter is 3 years on, like the shop's closed down, they've sort of all moved on, and Hitomi and Takeo just happen to be working at the same place, and they sort of start reminiscing about the shop, and I was like, oh, I literally said to myself, oh, this shop was a special place to her. Like, you didn't get that. I didn't get that. There was no emotional connection to the shop, to the other characters, even. And I guess the characters in a way were kind of written like that, but that wasn't enjoyable or fun or believable as a reader. It literally, I was like, oh, they really were supposed to really sort of have a special place in the heart for this place, and what the 3 of them had, but I just didn't feel it. I just didn't feel it. And I'm so disappointed, because I loved Strange Weather in Tokyo so much. It got like a 4.5. But there is another book by this author. Actually, I think there's two. People from My Neighborhood and The 10 Lives of Mr. Nishino. I'm going to try The 10 Lives of Mr. Nishino because when I brought this, The 10 Lives was the one I went to pick up. That was one that interested me, but they didn't have it. So I picked up this just because I loved it so much. So I am so disappointed, but there's more to try from the author. So I will. And then lastly, I read The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, which, again, was a winner of the Booker Prize. I don't know if that was just the author, it was actually this book. I don't know. It says on there, I assume it was this book. And this is the story of Mr. Stevens, who is a butler. And he sort of worked in this great house with, you know, numerous stuff. Think of it, Downton Abbey. Anyone who's read this and hear me say that and loves it will probably want to slap me. But it's very much, you know, great house, staff, tons of guests, a rich lord that lives there. And then when we meet Mr. Stevens, it's now owned by an American man. It's very short-staffed. And he gives him the week off. And Mr. Stevens goes on a trip in the countryside to go find one of the old workers, Miss Keaton, that used to work there, because he thinks she wants to come back and he feels like he needs her. And when I first started reading this, I literally said to myself, I instantly know who this character of Mr. Stevens is. He's someone who's very prim and proper and very proud of the kind of butler he is and proud of his job and takes great pride in it and has respect for the people he works for and works with. But as the story goes along, I couldn't help but feel like he is a bit of a unreliable narrator, which made it really interesting just because he has such great respect for Lord Darlington, who he used to work for, and as like the narrative that is very much shows that respect. But then when he remembers things, you start to get little glimpses and you maybe realise Lord Darlington wasn't a great man. It's set between the two world wars. And, you know, from his memories, it seems that Lord Darlington chooses Hitler and the Nazis. But when he's talking about him, you don't get that. You still think, you're like, he's very much like, oh, I made a mistake. And he's going to find Miss Keaton because he wants her back to work there, and he thinks they had sort of a great friendship. And at times they did, but it was very rocky. It was very up and down, and he was quite cold towards her. And so you sort of just think, oh, he is this unreliable narrator, and it makes it a really interesting read. It definitely wasn't like, it's not my favourite book ever. I know people really love this book. It's not that. But he is just a fascinating character. And yeah, like not much happens in it. It's a very sort of slow journey, but he really is an interesting character to read, and his perceptions of things. And yeah, I didn't love it. It was just fine for me. But if you're looking for sort of a really in-depth character, then I would definitely recommend this. It draws you in slowly, and then when you're in it, you're like, oh yeah, I have to see what the truth is. It's like you have to like pick apart what he's saying, and that was really interesting. It really was. So again, this was the one that I thought was going to be really moving, and I said they were staring at me from the shelves. So this was a bit like The Brief History of 7 Killings. It didn't quite live up to my expectations, but I wouldn't say this is bad. I enjoyed it more than Brief History. I gave it like 3.75 maybe. Yeah, I'd say about that. Maybe 3.5. So that's it. That's my 5 books for the month. Even though I had like sort of 2 5-stars, I just don't feel like I had a great reading month. I'm hoping November is more of a sort of gut punch books, you know, make me feel things and cry. That's what I wanted. That's what I thought I was going to get from a couple of these, and I didn't. And will always be disappointing. But let me know if you've read any of these, or if you want to read any of these, or, you know, maybe some of them disappointed you like they disappointed me. But thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, but it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Let me know in the comments anything you want to let me know. I always like to have a little chat. And I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.